There's a chance you guys might patch things up. I don't want to move in and catch you on the rebound and then have things change.
A New York woman advertises for a roommate and gets the wrong one in Single White Female, one of 5 new movies we'll be reviewing this week on Siskel and Ebert. I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune, and Single White Female is yet another one of those you can't trust the person right next to you movies, a trend that began a couple of years ago with A Weird Affair and Fatal Attraction, then A Strange Renter in Pacific Heights, A Cruel Husband in Sleeping with the Enemy, a crazed babysitter in The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, a sadistic cop in Unlawful Entry, and now the roommate from hell in Single White Female. Bridget Fonda plays a very put-together young woman whose boyfriend splits and leaves her with an extra bedroom, which she fills with a nutcase, a shy, seemingly mousy type, of course, well played by Jennifer Jason Leigh, who becomes increasingly possessive about their relationship.
Where the hell have you been?
God, Hetty, what are you doing in my room?
Among the many things that bug Jennifer Jason Leigh is that she just isn't as pretty as Bridget Fonda, who is now back with her boyfriend.
You're in a different league. I know that. You have this great personality. You've got this great style. You run your own business.
Of course, getting rid of your roommate in a picture like this isn't easy, as Single White Female builds to a predictable, violent conclusion.
You've been a good roommate. It's just, and this is the man I'm going to marry. I want us to start our lives together.
Well, he will cheat on you again. That's a promise. And when he does, don't come running to me, okay? Because I've had it with you. And you're so weak.
Naturally ominous. Now, it would be easy to say the Single White Female is absorbing until the rather standard violent third act, but I found a weakness before that. I watched these fine actresses in service of an old formula, the formula of the smart characters acting dumb because it's easier to move along the plot that way, and the more recent formula of hate as the dominant emotion in American movies. Single White Female is a well-acted formula picture, but I found it to be a formula nonetheless.
I guess I liked it better than you did. In fact, I know I did. It may have been a formula picture, and indeed, in the last hour, it is a formula series of close calls, and people escape, and then they're captured again, and then something else happens. But you know what I liked about it? It was directed by Barbet Schroeder, who made Barfly and Reversal of Fortune.
Right.
He is fascinated by deviant personalities, and what he does here, I think, is he puts a little twist in this movie and brings it right over the top, because in other hands it could have been just as much of a formula as you're talking about, but it seems to me that his style is what saves
I didn't find it that stylish, actually. I was surprised that a guy of his talent, he's going to Hollywood now. They do this all the time. You make a distinguished picture like Reversal of Fortune, then Hollywood takes you over and they stick you into a formula that I don't think is worthy of him. And the other thing, when you talk about the last hour, this is probably only a 100-minute movie, so more than half of it, I agree with you.
I didn't have my stopwatch out, Gene, but what I'm saying is I don't think he did this just because he went Hollywood or something. I think he went it because he was probably very interested in the material.
And the other thing is that bothers me is that you do have this split between the material and these two good young actresses, and I thought, why wouldn't there be more
good
pride
actresses and good directing?
Why wouldn't there be more pride in trying to put a different spin on the second hour of the picture?
I don't know. Our next movie is Little Nemo, Adventures in Slumberland, an animated feature inspired by the classic comic strip from the early decades of this century. The movie is a cooperative effort of American writers and voiceover actors and representatives of the new wave of Japanese animation, whose work is highly valued by animation fans but is just now starting to surface in the mainstream. And based on this film, the animation is very much worth watching, although the story could be a lot more interesting. The animation is consistently interesting, especially in the way it surprises us with its twists and turns as familiar objects take on unfamiliar shapes. The movie suffers, however, from its little hero, whose vocabulary is mostly limited to piping up for lines like yippee and oh no. There isn't any real sense of adventure or excitement here, although I imagine maybe younger kids, maybe real younger kids, might simply enjoy the great-looking visuals.
You mean kids who have never seen a movie before?
The interest in this film, which is more academic than anything else, is it's an example of some real good animation that's coming out of Japan.
Yeah, I didn't think that animation was that interesting. There have been other pictures that I think have been better, but I found this to be a very depressing experience because the guy is so dull. I mean,
yeah.
When he flies, in the first moment, if the movie can't capture you when he flies, you know, flying is one of the great fantasies for everybody, and kids in particular, and he said, this is fun. I mean, that's desperate. Yeah. And the movie is very desperate. In addition, I don't know which is really more frightening, Slumberland or Nightmareland, because Slumberland, his normal world, is so it seems like it's kind of machine-made out of some cross-cultural thing, like the bad toys that you might buy when you visit a tall building, you know, and they have the little souvenir shop, the stuff with too many filigrees on them. I thought it was kind of ugly.
Well, you know, one of the things about animated features frequently has been that the protagonists are the least interesting people in them.
Not anymore.
And the recent Disney stuff,
yes.
Beauty and the Beast and Little Mermaid, have protagonists, Beauty and the Mermaid, who are active and intelligent and involved in the world.
Right.
But this movie is a throwback to that older tradition where the hero is just kind of an eyewitness to everything that's happening around him, and he's really a boring character.
As you know, I have young children. I wouldn't let them get anywhere near this picture. It's very bad. Coming up next, Willem Dafoe co-stars with Susan Sarandon and Dana Delaney in Light Sleeper.
Is there something you want to say? What's up? We were happy.
We were miserable. We were either scoring or coming down, mostly coming down.
No, we had good times.
That's Willem Dafoe as a drug delivery man in Light Sleeper, the latest film from Paul Schrader, who came to fame 17 years ago with his script about another New York loner who cruises the city at night, Travis Bickle, Robert De Niro's character, of course, in Taxi Driver. Light Sleeper, however, is not as powerful, principally because of a weak ending that mimics Taxi Driver too closely. Dafoe plays a character who works for an upscale drug dealer, nicely played by Susan Sarandon as a worldly-wise tough guy with maybe a hole in her heart. They're both concerned about the future of the drug business now that crack has taken over.
I'm thinking about taking some music courses. Sound editing, mixing.
Didn't you already do that?
No, that was acting.
No, that was modeling.
During his travels through the city, Dafoe tries to reestablish a relationship with his former girlfriend, Dana Delaney, who's given up drugs and has remained clean for 4 years. She knows getting back with him would be poisonous.
You were an encyclopedia of suicidal fantasies. I heard every one. I mean, nobody could clear a room like you, John.
But she's a moth drawn to his flame in the film's most interesting relationship, and they do sleep together one more time, much to her later dismay.
Please get dressed and leave as soon as you can. I have a key. Bye.
Marianne.
It's my fault.
I don't know why this story has to have a violent conclusion, but it does, and it begins with Dafoe buying a gun.
Look, I've never used one of these before. How do you do?
Simple. Put the bullets in, point it at the bad guys, pull the trigger, and they fall down.
Once again, third act troubles. The third act of Light Sleeper echoes a lot of Taxi Driver, and obviously Paul Schrader is smart enough to know exactly what he's doing. But all I can say, without giving away too much, is that I didn't find the violence as well motivated in this film as in Taxi Driver, nor the life goes on ending. What does work and what does recommend the film are a series of really fine performances, well-drawn characters, and a general mood of ennui and desperation that marks the once fashionable drug culture. I'm voting thumbs up on this picture because of the performances and the characterizations, but with big reservations.
You know, I feel that Schrader in this film is trying to deliberately do a variation on a theme. Obviously,
oh, yes, he is.
He wrote Taxi Driver. He knows all about Taxi Driver, and anyone as familiar with that movie as we are can see how some of the acts have parallels here. But the mood is completely different, and that's, I think, the soul of this movie. This is a tremendously sad picture. It's about a sad man in a sad business in a sad city dealing with sad people. And I was amazingly moved by the film. I wasn't sitting there thinking, well, the ending isn't as motivated as it should have been, because I was so overwhelmed by the strength of this character and the performance by Willem Dafoe. I think it's a very, very good film.
Well, I mean, I said the same thing about the characters here, and I said the mood of ennui, so we're seeing the same thing. At the same point, he is obviously doing a riff on this other thing, on Taxi Driver. I just ask you, in the final sequence in the picture, without giving it away, in the final sequence of the picture, did you believe the two of them there? I didn't.
More so than in Taxi Driver. You see, that's what was interesting to me, because everybody goes back to Taxi Driver when Travis Bickle gets back together again with the
Sybil Shepherd
character, and they say, people have been asking both Schrader and Scorsese for 70 years, what did that mean? Was that a fantasy? Was it real or not? And in this film, obviously it is real, and it's almost as if the director-writer, this time Schrader, is trying to make a commentary on the earlier film by saying, this is the way this could have happened. This was actually, what happens in the last scene there is that the buried plot of the whole movie is revealed. This attraction that was never stated in so many words until the end.
Well, I think that in the first case, it was such a far-afield choice in Taxi Driver that it was shockingly fresh. And here, it is underwhelmingly familiar.
Okay, when we come back, Brandon Lee, the son of the legendary Bruce Lee, stars in Rapid Fire.
Some sweet kid over there in a black jacket. He saw me wax hang. You heard him moving.
A mafia boss commits murder during a Chinese-American fundraiser for the victims of Tiananmen Square, and a young art student witnesses the killing. But this isn't just any art student. It's a character played by Brandon Lee, son of Bruce Lee, or as the press releases inevitably refer to him as, the legendary Bruce Lee. And he's not only an artist, but a martial artist whose karate skills will be on view over and over and over and over again in Rapid Fire. In the movie, Lee is caught in a vice between Asian drug lords, the mafia, crooked Chicago cops who pretend to be his bodyguards but really want to kill him, and good Chicago cops who are trying to protect him, but he doesn't know who to trust. Powers Booth, appearing once again in a movie not really worthy of his talent, co-stars as an honest cop who Lee doesn't know whether to believe or not. There is obviously a market for movies like Rapid Fire, and every summer we get 3 or 4 of them. Extravaganzas of gunfire and explosions, car chases, and of course lots and lots and lots of exploding cars. Every gas tank always goes up with these cars, and all of those elaborately choreographed fight scenes. I didn't find a single character in Rapid Fire interesting or believable, and so I was understandably a little indifferent as they kick one another to pieces.
Well, the other fixation this director has is on, this is something we've talked about, and that is plate glass. I mean, whoever had the glazing concession on this film made a lot of money, because if ever you see any glass behind a bar, a window, it's going to be shattered repeatedly and in show motion until we can get good looks at the shards of glass.
Even that art exhibit at the beginning, you wouldn't have thought, it looked to me mostly like it was going to be walls and paintings, and then it turned out that there was an amazing amount of glass in that room, too.
And the automatic weapons fire has really saved this picture. The other thing, I mean, about this Brandon Lee, I think that the guy has some potential in acting, because he's a likable young performer. I would say it's probably a big mistake to put him in the karate stuff where he doesn't measure up to his father, who did have some real charisma. He did have charisma, and this kid doesn't have that, but he should be used in some other role.
We're going to have to make a note of this film, though, and refer to it again later in the year if we ever do another one of our Do It Every Time shows, because this is almost a textbook example of how the guys with the machine guns can never hit anyone, and the guys with the single-shot revolvers always never miss.
And also that bullet holes are placed on objects prior to the shooting.
Oh, very, very good. Coming up next, James Woods is a con man behind a boxing hustle in Diggstown.
You got my money?
Hold. Not exactly.
Our next movie is called Diggstown, and it stars James Woods as a con man trying to outfox town bully Bruce Dern in a big bet on a series of boxing matches. And here is a film that is sort of a grubby, low-rent version of The Sting with all manner of double and triple crosses. James Woods is well cast as the lead con man, because he always seems to be playing a con man in the movies, this time concocting a grand scam with an old, wary boxing buddy played by Louis Gossett Jr.
You lost faith in me. It was a cash fight. You're the one that kept drilling me, but half of the money is in the acting. I know you're here to try and pitch me on something, but I'm off the con, man. I'm out complete. Forever, huh?
The man they're trying to one-up is Bruce Dern, the strongman boss of working-class Diggstown, where boxing and betting go hand in fist.
I didn't say I think he's going to win this fight. I said I know he's going to win this fight. Hey, I got a split. By the way, I'd bet 1,000 on it.
What would you bet?
2,000 bucks on it.
The bet is that Gossett can defeat 10 consecutive opponents in a string of bouts over just 24 hours. Sounds impossible? Not in a movie like this, where some of the bouts go easy and others don't.
Okay, look, he's bigger than you are, he's tougher, he's faster, he's younger than you are. He hasn't fought 22 rounds today, but you remember this. You are black.
What the hell is that supposed to mean?
I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to inspire you. You know, it's a roots kind of thing.
Diggstown was directed by Michael Ritchie, who's made entertaining sports action stories before, Semi-Tough with Burt Reynolds, The Bad News Bears with Tatum O'Neal. He knows the action form well and how to bend it out of familiar shape, and that's why I liked Diggstown.
I didn't like Diggstown, and one of the reasons I didn't was that there was way too much fighting for my taste in relation to the rest of the story. When you have actors like James Woods and Bruce Dern, who were two of the best villains in the movies, and they're up against each other.
Yeah, and Louis Gossett Jr., who's charismatic.
Who's a very good actor. It should have been some more juicy, dramatic scenes, some great dialogue, some characterizations, some stuff developing instead of bloody fight scene after fight scene after fight scene. This probably has as much fight footage in it as any 3 Rocky movies put together, and after a while, it just absolutely lost my attention. I wanted to see more off of the ring, out of the ring.
The out-of-the-ring stuff was not as good as the in-the-ring stuff.
Should have been.
And I liked the in-the-ring stuff because I thought each fight, the 10 little fights, had its own little style, and they were fun. I don't like to see people...
That's a very modest praise that you're giving.
No, it isn't modest because it is, as you just said, the bulk of the movie. So I was entertained through this little 10-round scenario, if you will, and had a real good time with the picture, and I was fooled, and I bet you were too.
Okay, fine. I won't say whether I was or not.
That's a yes.
When we come back, the director of Single White Female takes the high road and the low road.
Siskel and Ebert's Video Pick of the Week, brought to you this week by Orville Redenbacher Popcorn. Do one thing and do it better than anyone.
And now it's time for my home video pick of the week, and I'd like to recommend a look at a couple of good films by Barbet Schroeder, the man who directed this week's Single White Female. Schroeder is a Swiss filmmaker who has recently worked in America and who seems drawn to the extremes of American life. For example, in his movie Barfly, starring Mickey Rourke and Faye Dunaway, he painted a darkly comic portrait of Skid Row based on the vision of barroom novelist Charles Bukowski.
I'm going to ask you the same damn thing. People are always asking me. Like what do you do?
Schroeder's next film went to the other extreme of American life, to the millionaire mansions of Newport for Reversal of Fortune, based on the trial of Klaus von Bülow, who was charged with trying to murder his socialite wife, Sonny. Jeremy Irons won an Academy Award for this performance.
I'm not afraid of them. Let the chips fall where they may.
That's what an innocent man would say.
I know.
Barfly and Reversal of Fortune are both available on tapes and laser discs, and I recommend you take a look at them at home. Now let's take another look at the movies we reviewed this week. We had a split decision on Single White Female, the thriller about a woman threatened by her roommate. Gene didn't like the violent third act. I thought the director, Barbet Schroeder's style, pushed it over the top. 2 thumbs down for Little Nemo, Adventures in Slumberland. 2 thumbs up for Paul Schrader's Light Sleeper, with great performances all around in the story of a sad and desperate drug dealer. 2 thumbs down for Rapid Fire, the assembly line karate picture with Brandon Lee. And finally, a split decision on Diggstown, the non-stop fight extravaganza that Gene enjoyed and I thought was brutally repetitive. And as far as I'm concerned, it's Light Sleeper as the choice of this group of films.
The only thing I'll say,
very good film.
Wonderful performances. The only thing I'll say about Diggstown is that I think the comedy in the film is leavening to the brutality.
That's it for this week. Next time we'll be back with reviews of more big end-of-the-summer movies, including the comedy Honeymoon in Vegas with James Caan as a widow gambler trying to bust up happy couple Nicolas Cage and Sarah Jessica Parker. And we'll also review Christopher Columbus, The Discovery. You know the story, I think. This one features Tom Selleck and Marlon Brando. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.
Television is all kinds of basic sweats and t-shirts. Teltex, a new way of looking at clothes. Brute, it captures everything that makes a man in one great scent. Brute, the essence of man. X-Lax offers a gentle alternative. Extra gentle pills for regular people who sometimes aren't. Use only as directed. St. Ives Swiss Formula Apricot Scrub. St. Ives Swiss Formula polishes your complexion beautifully, naturally. St. Ives Swiss Formula Apricot Scrub.